Hey guys, Suarez Digital here. First off, thank you so much for 363 subscribers. It really means the world to me, and I will continue to make more wholesome content for you all. Once again, I have changed my appearance. I decided that some creative changes might help us get more subscribers. And you might be saying, Suarez Digital, all you did was add a hat and a mask. That's the equivalent of just lazily changing Sonic's arms to blue and connecting his eyes together. Speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog, you all know about him, don't you? When I was a kid, he was the coolest thing ever. Then as I grew older, he became the laughingstock of the entire gaming community. And as I grew much older, he became the laughingstock of the entire internet. For many years, I waited patiently and I hoped that Sonic would release a new game that would take the world by storm. And in 2020, he did in fact take the world by storm, but not through a video game, but through a movie. The Sonic movie did the impossible. They made Sonic cool and re-established him as a household name again. The movie was considered a box office hit, grossing a total of $149 million and only cut short due to the COVID and quarantine restrictions. This was unexpected because everyone hated the original trailer because yes, Sonic was ugly. Many fans, including myself, really expected this movie to fail hard, and we were worried that Sonic would continue to be the laughingstock of the world. Fortunately, the studio listened and pushed the date back to release a more accurate Sonic design, giving us the Sonic movie we see now, and establishing one of the most successful video game movie adaptations. However, there were still fans that hated this design because he didn't have his iconic conjoined eye, and he had blue arms. Nevertheless, this movie succeeded, and with an Easter egg appearance from Tails at the end, it guaranteed that a sequel was in the works. Despite the few haters, this was one of the first times that the Sonic community came together, which was strange because this film ideally opposes everything that Sonic fans love, and ironically, it encompasses everything that Sonic fans hate about every other adaptation. That's right, Miku. This movie made so many changes that in any other case has irritated fans like crazy. Unfortunately, Sonic fans fight over everything. For starters, let's talk about the origin story. Sonic origin stories are controversial. We have fans that love the simplicity of the original Japanese lore. Sonic is born on Christmas Island, and his friends are captured by Dr. Eggman. In the United States, Sonic's origin differs, as Sega of America created the Sonic Bible, an internal document used for the US-based teams to establish completely original backstories different from the source material, such as changing Dr. Eggman's name to Dr. Ivo Robotnik and using the name Mobius for Sonic's world. The origin story can be seen in a promotional 15-page comic, and later in the UK's Sonic the Comic, where both show that Sonic used to be a regular brown hedgehog who assisted a kind scientist by the name of Dr. Ivo Kintobor. Robotnik spelled backwards. Dr. Kintobor's experiment fails and is absent with 10,000 volts of pure evil energy, which causes him to become Dr. Robotnik. Eventually, the jump to 3D streamlined the story to be built upon the Japanese story with a couple of few American elements, such as Eggman's real name now being Dr. Ivo Robotnik, while Eggman is now his nickname that he was donned by Sonic the Hedgehog. We also have comics and cartoons that build completely different worlds separate from those of the game. The 1993 animated series Sonic the Hedgehog, also known as Sadam by fans, built a completely new origin story depicting Sonic as a member of a small ragtag group called the Freedom Fighters. They were the only force standing up against the evil tyrant Julius Robotnik, and their main goal was to recapture their homeland, Mobius. One of the big differences was that unlike other iterations of Robotnik, he isn't out to conquer the world, he already has. The Archie comics further built upon this lore by building one of the most complex and controversial worlds and storylines spanning over 290 comics. In this interpretation of Sonic's storyline, he's only ever known war, and he's constantly losing family members and friends, and ultimately, it always feels like Dr. Robotnik is 3 steps ahead of them. Sonic Underground follows a similar formula, except now, Sonic has 2 siblings and a mother who are also the main focus of the story. Then, you have Sonic X, which loosely mixes its original story with the events of the video games up until Sonic Heroes. Here, they establish that Sonic and friends are transported to the human world, also establishing the Two-Earth concept. And unfortunately, like most older animes, the English dub is horribly butchered, changing so many key elements from the original anime. Finally, you have Sonic Boom, which also has 2 continuities, one being the cartoon, which is a more lighthearted and sitcom-esque comedy with very few and rare serious moments, and then its video game counterpart, which attempts to create the drama and intensity of the original 3D titles. And as we've seen, all of these origin stories are completely different and continuously cause these fans to fight amongst each other. So, why did everyone just accept the Sonic movie lore? Let's start by listing the things that fans hate about every other series. Some fans hate the two-world concept presented in Sonic X that separates Sonic's world from the human world. Yet in the movie, Sonic is clearly from another world. Heck, he's pretty much an alien from an entirely different planet. Some other fans dislike Sadam and the Archie comics and say that Sonic doesn't need parents or family attachments because it adds convoluted trauma and narrative that is totally unneeded. But once again, in the movie, we have Longclaw serving as Sonic's parental figure that gives up her life to protect him. You know, Longclaw, the character that's totally in the video games. Big changes to the Sonic lore and narrative bother so many fans, and this is usually the cause and frustration when cemented concepts aren't followed through. In the games, Knuckles is the last surviving member of the Echidna race, which is now long gone. But in the movies, we see that Echidnas are alive and thriving, and they are actively hunting down Sonic despite that never happening in the games. Even more, a lot of fans dislike how these iterations don't use the source material, settings, and locations. Yet once again, aside from a couple of references or stand-in names, the movie doesn't use any of the video game settings. Finally, fans dislike how some incarnations of Sonic can't read the room and they constantly get frustrated when he acts like a jerk or when he can't take a serious moment seriously. You're right, Miku. This Sonic does act a little different than the others. So is it really Sonic? The fans' biggest complaints with more modern Sonic games and certain cartoon iterations is the fact that Sonic tries too hard to be cool, as he often resorts to making very weak jokes. And when the situation should be taken seriously, Sonic shows no concern. Fans especially hate when Sonic makes pop culture references, and thus, fans say that these iterations of Sonic aren't really Sonic, claiming that it destroys story immersion. Yet, Movie Sonic does all of this. And to Movie Sonic's defense, fans claim that this is Teen Sonic, as shown in Sonic Force's Speed Battle. And as usual stereotypical teens, he is going to make these lame jokes that miss, and he's going to be goofy when compared to his older video game counterpart. Movie Sonic in the end is the definition of a hyper child that can't sit still and is constantly disobeying Tom. But if this is the case, then this goes against what fans preach when they state that classic Sonic is the video game version of Teen Sonic, who instead of being loud and rowdy, is quiet, collected, and focused. Others say that it's just story narrative 101. Since we are introduced to the human character Tom Wachowski, the strict voice of reason, then Sonic has to be his goofy foil in order to break down Tom's more serious one-track mind in order for him to develop as a character. My favorite scene was when Sonic farted in front of Tom. He asserted his dominance, and that is a power move. And he does things like this frequently throughout the movie. However, this Sonic made it work, which is kind of strange because everyone hated these quirks when they were applied to the Sonic Boom and the newer iterations of Sonic. Fans claim that Sonic doesn't need to be cool because he is cool. Sonic's cool factor lies in the way he carries himself, with his confident attitude, his ability to show no fear in the heat of danger, and above all, the way he isn't afraid to face new and strange situations head on, even if it means he has to do it alone. Knowing this, Movie Sonic finds himself in a brand new world, yet has to be handheld throughout everything. There really was no reason why Movie Sonic couldn't find his way to San Francisco all on his own, as he is shown to run to the ocean and back once the tranquilizer has worn off. If this was video game Sonic, then the movie would have been over right here, since he would easily be able to problem solve his way out of this. And one would think that fans would be protesting the streets with signs reading, "Not my Sonic," but they didn't. That's right, we haven't even gotten to Dr. Eggman, who has had the biggest character change out of all the characters. Granted, there are only 2 Sonic characters in this movie, but nevertheless, the biggest changes out of both. Movie Eggman is played by Jim Carrey. He starts off with the name Dr. Ivo Robotnik and later is nicknamed Eggman by Sonic, not because he's fat and shaped like an egg, but because his robots are shaped like eggs. Kudos to Sonic. It's 2022 and we no longer make fun of people's outward appearance. Jim Carrey's portrayal is completely different from any other Eggman before him. Physically, he bears absolutely no resemblance to the video game character he's based off of. And even in the final scene, he's missing his iconic round belly and egg-shaped design that is the very reason why he is called Eggman in the original Sonic lore. When looking at his personality, he's not menacing, intimidating, or constantly angry like those in his Archie counterpart, nor is he calculative and precise like the Adventure series Eggman. You can argue that he shares a resemblance to more of the humorous interpretations of the more modern Boost Mechanic Sonic storylines and that of Sonic Boom's Eggman. But in the end, Jim Carrey's Robotnik is in a class of his own, and the best way to define him is an exaggerated cartoon villain mixed with that of a power-hungry Discord moderator who is always trying to prove that they are smarter than everyone else around them. And once again, this feels kind of weird, as Eggman has never had to tell anyone that he's smarter than them. He just shows it. He lets his robots and invention prove it, and he's constantly confident in his own genius, even if there are glaring holes in his plans, and he's usually quick and straight to the point. Carrey's portrayal is funny, but he comes off as insecure and uncertain, constantly talking down to others in order to justify that he is better, spending a lot of his screen time trying to one-up every other character he encounters. With that said, by changing the core elements of both Sonic and Eggman, is this really a Sonic movie then? The story is nothing related to Sonic either. It's just your standard story where the humanoid animal gets help from a human. And you can argue that the story wouldn't really change if you replace Sonic and Eggman with completely new characters. The story and world shares nothing from the video games aside from the couple of names and cameos here and there. And you might be saying, Suarez Digital. The rings are a reference to the Warp Keys in Sonic 3. They made references to Green Hill and Hilltop Zone. They also showed Mushroom Hill Zone. And they showed Sonic. But again, those are small references that make no impact on the story. You could replace them with literally anything else and the story would still make sense. And I know what you might be saying. Suarez Digital, do you hate the Sonic movie? And the answer is no. I believe that the movie taught us that it's okay to change the character, the lore, the backgrounds, and everything as long as the story is compelling and as long as we are willing to give it a chance. The argument that the Sonic lore needs to be consistent kind of fails because the lore was never consistent to begin with. Even video game purists should acknowledge that the video games in itself have writing that contradicts itself, and it differs from game to game with only a handful of them loosely connecting to each other. Again, let's not forget that Sonic Boom has two continuities within itself. And I get it, much of this overprotection stems from trying to protect the integrity of the games, and in doing so, they selectively choose problematic parts of Archie Comics and Sonic Boom as a way to justify why the series needs to be gridlocked to a specific formula with specific characters. However, I believe that the good parts of these series heavily outweigh the bad. I'd argue that some iterations are a lot better handled than the original game counterparts. One prime example that I point to is when Sonic X made a bold but solid choice to replace Amy with Chris in the Sonic Adventure 2 adaptation when talking to Shadow to convince him to join the good guy's side. Again, always watch Sonic X in Japanese. Trust me, sometimes these changes are great and creative choices allow us to feel more connected to these characters. And this is where the movie succeeded. Sonic's original lore might be a straightforward story about good versus evil, where at the end of each game, all of the characters remain static and gain no character development. But that's not the story that this movie is trying to tell. The movie is telling us a story about a new Sonic living in a brand new world where he finds himself insecure and lonely. That's something that a lot of people can relate and connect to. Some people do argue that this is unnecessary. And in the games, this doesn't have to be done to relate to Sonic, but again, when we play the games, we are Sonic. We relate to him because we feel his power, whether it's through his speed, spin dash, or special moves. Media is transformative, which is why every iteration of Sonic media outside the games has to find a way to convey these new ideas, especially if they're planning to build a long-running series. And while having nice stories in video games is amazing, you forget that their first and main objective is to be played. We have seen how games with good stories can fail if their gameplay is subpar mediocre. Movies, comics, and TV shows don't face this issue. They have to spend this time captivating their audiences by creating entertaining stories and relatable characters, and that's not a bad thing. I think that we as Sonic fans need to take a step back and realize that we share a lot more in common than we actually believe. I'm not saying you should be forced to like every single interpretation of Sonic, but I'm asking for you to appreciate them. And if you have nothing nice to say, then focus your attention on the mediums that you love without bringing down another one. And whether you're a fan of video games, Archie, Sonic Boom, or any other Sonic media, we should be glad that there are new fans enjoying Sonic in various different ways, and we should be excited that this future is looking very bright for Sonic the Hedgehog, which will allow many new fans to enjoy the same blue blur that we all love and enjoy. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I believe if the original Sonic movie were released with the ugly design, this movie would have bombed hard. Fortunately, we don't live in that timeline, so we don't even have to worry about it. With that said, I'm excited for the Sonic sequel. The trailers have already been shown, and I'm excited for which direction it takes. By all means, it does not have to follow the lore of the game. Heck, if they did, then Knuckles would have been introduced in the next movie, and not this one. I wouldn't mind an early reveal of Shadow the Hedgehog with a completely new origin story. Or, how about more focus on Mecha Sonic? He's always constantly ignored, but he's super cool. And he has a super form. But if the Sega Cinematic Universe is their focus, then this is what they should do. There should be a ring laying on the beach stand of a tropical island. It quickly shows a shadowy figure swoosh by and take the ring. The camera pans to the mysterious figure running up a banana tree. A close-up of the ring falling to the ground and opening a warp portal. We see the figure jumping into the portal really quickly, and the screen fades to black. In the distance, you hear a voice echo, "Yo-ho!" And with that, Super Monkey Ball becomes part of the Sega Cinematic Universe. God, Super Monkey Ball is so cool. I wish monkeys were real.